Hello, this is Dr. Jean, dear future people. Well, today we are gonna examine how to create hell. And we are trying to fix this by understanding the mechanism and then providing some new solutions to this problem. So, the primary mechanism by creating a hellish world is superficial attention. So, an eye connected with an inert and inexperienced mind. Well, we learned that all our knowledge comes from the senses. Oh my God, really? Okay, so let's say that we have an ideal observer with an ideal eye, and let's see what happens if to that eye different level of mind activity is connected with. Okay, so let's look at what happens if to that sense the eye, an inert and an inexperienced mind is attached. Okay, so here's what you are going to see. You are going to see classes, sets, categories, rules, borders, fixed patterns, straight lines, and numbers. Okay, you are going to see equations like this, statistical distributions like this, and all kinds of foolish measurements. So when we uh, are going to divide our train of thought into separate units that we are taking over from somebody else, we are going to call that mechanism categorism. Okay, so we use categories of others as tools, undigested, taken mechanically over. Okay, and because we have these tools, then we are going to look at things with the help of these tools. Okay, like these. All right, now so let's see. What is our goal? Let us state our objective. Well, our objective is going to be to see the world differently. Okay, not like this, but like this. What are we going to see? If we have an eye, senses, okay, with organized and experienced mind attached to it, then we are going to see complex, interconnected patterns with unique local patterns in it. Okay, so in other words, we are going to see transitions, variations, interconnectedness. Okay, but the whole thing brings out a complex pattern. Okay, so from here we want to go to here. How are we going to do that? Well, first of all, what we need to realize is that our fixation to a material, objective, fixed, rigid world does not work. That's the first thing that we need to see. And to make you understand this, let's look at this hammer, okay? And let's look how this hammer is going to be used in a piano, okay, for artistic achievement, which is a very highly complex pattern of communication, okay? Communicating something lofty, something very well organized, and something beautiful, okay? So a hammer, but how much it is more than just this, okay? And similarly, although these are not hammers, but they are simple tools, yet what complexity of tasks a doctor, a surgeon can achieve with the help of these things. So you think that the primary thing here is a tool. Well, no. The primary thing here is a very complex pattern that you have in your mind, with the help of which this simple tool can create very complex artistic or professional patterns. Okay? Now, in terms of history, the superficial attention would dictate that there is a science to history. There is a fixed past that can be investigated with scientific means, and you can achieve an objective description of facts and events. Okay? This is what a naive person would think with an inorganized and inexperienced mind. And that's okay, because you have to start somewhere. But when we talked about review, we learned that in reality, the history that we learn is connected to a dynamic past, okay, which is infinite and which never ended, okay, of which we are part. And there is a dynamic interaction between past and the historian, the observer of the past, and historical records and archaeological finds. So there is an organic interaction here. And understanding that there is a connection, an interaction between the historian and the manifestations of the past, be it archaeological or historical or philological, okay? We now understand that there is always a subjectivity in choosing what is important, weighing relative importance, selection of aspects through which we are looking at something, because the past is infinite, right? And selection of focus, so in other words, the time period which we are going to identify for ourselves, okay? So there is a local uniqueness here. Why? Because the historian is going to see the past through what he or she sees in the present. So for instance, if you want to imagine, okay, what a holy woman looked like in a faraway place, well, you have to start somewhere. So you look around you, and how do women look around you? Well, they look like this. And you have not seen anything else. So you have no idea that it could be different. So, for you, no matter how far away that place is, you imagine it like this, because that's the only thing you have seen in your life. So you always project your own biases, your own experience to the past. But remember, first of all, the past is not finished. The past lives with us because there is a continuity. And also remember that the past is infinite. Okay? So in other words, you pick and choose certain things out of infinite patterns, and then you develop your own past, your own interpretation of the past based on your biases, your prejudices, and your interests and your sensitivity, okay, or your potential. I mean, actually what you know about the past, or what sources you have about the past, okay? So now, an eye connected with an organized and experienced mind understands that the observer is always present in the observation process. So it is with history, and so it is with everything else. And the student of history brings his concepts, thinking patterns, experiences to the observation process. So Your the objectivity. In other words, if you want to speak to other people and you try to eliminate your own biases so that you can more easily communicate with other people, okay, can be a noble objective. It's a form of coordination, okay, ease of communication. Interpersonal objectivity is a nice objective, but it is not a fact. It is something you wish to achieve, but you never achieve. You achieve to some degree, okay? And remember, objectivity is not good in itself. Objectivity merely eases communication. But when you believe that you have objectivity and you project this out to the universe, okay, then you are going to have a very major drop in your truth value, as we said many times before. So now you are trying to argue that there are common denominators: food, mate, resources, territory, competition, war, institutions, organizations, tribes, nations, states, empires, great ideas, great persons, and in the case of 2023, it's money, money, money. Okay, but these common denominators have relative weights depending on your sensitivity and interests. They have also interconnected patterns with transitions and variations. Well, let's look at some examples, okay? So, you have a spectrum between this and this. You have a spectrum between this and this, okay? So your interest, your motivation, your idea of values are gonna be a very wide spectrum. And that is true about the present, and that is also true about the past. So then, yes, you have trends, but there is a whole spectrum because the past is infinite, okay? Now, so what do you do to simplify things? Well, the definition of naivete and mental inertia is to project things out. In other words, what is here must be also out there, okay? So you project things out. So if you are anthropomorph, if you are a human, okay, then you imagine that everything else is a human. The sky, the sea, the physical universe, okay, or far away living beings. Because you are not interested in alien civilizations. You are interested in alien civilizations that are similar to you, that you can easily understand, because that is the only way to maintain mental inertia and project your things out in space and time and in a virtual reality, okay, works by projecting what is here out there, okay? So, with organic attention, you grew up. A child believes in centrality, that the whole world, okay, is centered around me. That's the way a child thinks. But if we grow, and that's good, I mean, that's the way it works. But if we grow up, we understand that there is a dynamic world. Attributes and conditions are seen as widely different from here to here. This direction, that direction, that direction. And they are in constant change. So the world is no longer an extension of what is here, okay? Because we see transitions, variations, and complexity, okay, giving rise to local uniqueness. So we appreciate local uniqueness. So if we go down 1,000 meters below the sea level, okay, then we see these strange things. And we see at extreme temperature and pressure, okay, living organisms. And we see organic material comes to us from outer space. And we appreciate that. Why? Because our perspective is wide, so that we notice these things. Because rather than our own projections like this, we are willing to notice things that are different from us. And if you ever want to avoid war, competition, pandemics, and all kinds of bad things, you need to understand this. But you don't. And so here's what happens. Here is a thinking man, okay? Organizing, processing, digesting, uniquely ordering, attributing relative weight, integrating information, okay? So this man here achieves wisdom and understands uniqueness. But what is it that we actually see? We see uniformity. We see uniformity. We see uniformity. We see uniformity. So imagine that there is a great thinker like this one, okay? And his name is used, okay, as a mechanical building block of a virtual world. Algorithms, okay? Algorithm, okay, the real thing, and algorithm, the surreal virtual reality that 2023 people live in, okay? And this, what is the common denominator, okay? Categorism, okay? In other words, thought patterns that are standardized, that are fixed, like building blocks, okay? Like bricks in the wall, okay? So now, uncomfortable living with self-torture, self-deprivation, and self-sacrifice. This is still the level of superficial attention. So the hero, the martyr, the revolutionary, okay, is still doing this. Superficial attention. You don't need heroes. You don't need martyrs. You don't need revolutionaries. You need organic thinkers. But organic thinkers not outside there, but inside here, okay? The goal is not self-exposure or exhibition. The goal is not the destruction of the self, no. The goal is not destruction of the ego, no. Okay? So fighting is done whenever it's absolutely unavoidable. This is not what you want. What you want is a deeper, organized attention in order that you transcend individual separateness and exclusiveness. Okay? So again, let's go back to this picture here. Okay? All the way here. Okay? So you have these individual separate units, okay? Individual separate measures, okay? And you have these projections, okay, of individual separate things. And you want to transcend that. You want to transcend uniformity. You want to transcend fixed, standardized things. Okay. So an ego is something separate but also exclusive. It is like this, and it cannot be anything else, only like this. Exclusiveness, okay, that you project out. But like we said many times already, a liver cell is unique and important an organic part of the organism and not a separate entity. Life is continuous and cannot be divided or contained. Life is like a life force, like a field, an energy field. Okay? So it is not separate units, not little balls that mechanically bump into each other. Okay? So now, attempts to contain life always lead to high pressure and explosion, because life is a field that cannot be contained. Life grows with unique patterns of organization due to deep organic attention. In other words, organicity is a natural attribute to life. Life is not just physical organization. That's what your physiology teacher told you, that life is a physical organization of molecules, of enzymes, of systems, of mechanisms. Okay? No. Life is organization of all kinds. And that includes organization of the mind, organization of the soul, the heart, the spirit. Okay? Remember, if you organize your tools, okay, like this, that's all and good. But if you are not organized in here, you will not be able to accomplish difficult, complex tasks. So in other words, organization has to include all different kinds of levels. Okay, so it is foolish to think that physical organization or mechanical organization is the only thing that is necessary. No. Okay? It's like you're focusing on the hardware of an airplane, of a computer, but not the software, the pilot's experience, or the computer software. Both are necessary. In fact, both are interconnected. Organization knows no hierarchy. All aspects are important. So you cannot just take out one aspect, say the material aspect, just because it's easier to investigate through the scientific method. Okay? But you have to understand that all aspects are important. There's not a hierarchy unless you set a hierarchy because you are more interested in this than that, or you can more easily investigate this and that. Hierarchy is for children, not for organized minds. So then, organicity expands and transcends separate entities. Like heat dissolves ice crystals, even the hardest one. But organicity manifests uniquely everywhere. Okay? Organicity is here, and organicity is also here. You see difference because you are meant to see differences, and there are differences because your sensitivity is greater, say, here than here. But understand that these things, although maybe more subtly or more slowly, but they also change. And they contain life and organicity, okay? Even in the most extreme of circumstances. Explaining organicity in pictures, words, laws, variables, trends, stories, texts. This is a snapshot, okay? So, this is a snapshot, this is a snapshot, this is, and this is, and this is, okay? But these high contrast separate objects, okay, called snapshots, or in history they are called facts, okay, or events, okay, they are not telling you the whole thing. Because life is continuous, like movement is continuous, and like change is continuous. You see, you have events, things that are easy to identify. But behind events and great persons, and facts, okay, there is a continuity of an infinite reality. So superficial attention understands motion, history, life in stages as separate, quantifiable events like this. But organic attention understands that this is part of an underlying, deep, continuous, and infinite pattern. Understanding organicity as a continuous, infinite, dynamic reality transcends your variables, laws, dates, snapshots. And please understand that these things are extremely important because you have to start out somewhere. But it's overvaluing this and making a virtual reality out of these, which is said to be objective. But that's a dream. That is not true. You have to have quite a bit of superficiality to think that that is something given, something standards. And it's all consensus based. Life, reality, motion, divinity, having no contours, no borders, no separate stages, no replaceable parts, goes on flowing. It's a flux, okay, in all directions that never stops and goes on forever. Now, so this is organicity. So now, if we understand this, then we understand the mechanism of creating an outside world. An outside world that can be discovered, that can be investigated, that can be known, okay, and understood. It is a model. You create a model and then you call it independent of you, and you call this objectivity. And please understand that when you create this model, then you create this model according to your sensitivity, interest, and the kind of tools that you have. And then, because you have certain sensitivities and interests and certain kind of tools, then you forget about reality and you keep investigating the model, okay? Which goes on in science and mathematics all the time. You don't investigate reality, you investigate the model that you created according to your own biases. So the world is a model that was created with the purpose of organization. And you have to start somewhere. Even the most primitive model is good for some stages of mental development, okay? So a low variable description of standardized fixed life experience extrapolated and projected outside is a good starting point. But when the outside world is standardized, fixed for ease of communication, a process that we call coordination inside a community, it always is relevant to that particular community, okay? So if you believe that there is multiplication of numbers, and multiplication of numbers is the same thing for you and for any other intelligent life forms, then you are unmasking your desire to find not artificial intelligent life forms, but artificial life forms that are similar to you, okay? And if you don't find some, then you create some for your own entertainment, okay? So inter-individual consensus, inter-individual coordination is of course necessary. It creates a space that is outside of you, that is independent of you, that is objective. But that space is virtual. A fixed outside world manifesting as institutions, organizations, rules, laws, religious traditions, absolute truths, borders, classes, categories, hierarchies, sacred objects, or beings, units, idols, particles, with low number of fixed properties or variables. Okay, these are all a product of mental inertia, needing help to interpret, needing help to categorize, needing help to assign relative weights to, relative importance to. And of course, this is the wonder of media. Okay, when you use a media to interpret an outside reality for you, then of course you will be liable to manipulation, exploitation, and parasitism, right? But when you realize that community coordination, which is necessary for ease of communication, is, together with mental inertia, the main constituents of objectivity, which is a virtual world that particular community created for help, for categorical help to mentally inert, mentally undeveloped minds. Okay, then you understand that this objectivity, okay, with fixed projections of coordinated mental products, summated as outside world, can be and should be transcended. So an idolater is pious, but pious with a definite object for his faith. And that definite object is a highly fixed, highly standardized conception. Okay? It's an idea, a divine object, a religious tradition, an idol, a dogma. Okay? Something fixed and standardized. That's how you recognize an idolater. Okay? A truly religious person or a community has faith without definite object. Okay? Without fixations, without standardizations, or as little as possible of any of these. Okay? And then ultimately, goodness comes out of this. Because why? Because if somebody believes that we are in organic unity, but we are all special parts of organic unity and organic parts, then cooperation, okay, the manifestation of which is goodness, the willing to the will to cooperate, okay, is going to be at a very high intensity. So an idolater discriminates inside and outside. Why? Because an idolater will separate out its own ego, its own separate, exclusive inner world from the objective, standardized, fixed outside world. So what's going to happen is that there are going to be two parts of reality. The inside reality, the sinful inside, the ego, and the good outside objective reality. Okay? So I am bad, but outside there is something good. Okay? And that is idolatry. This separation. Okay? But you need to understand that outside world, which doesn't include you, is an artificial virtual world of standardization and fixation, preventing you to be unique and to interlive organically with the rest of reality. A religious person and community has no definite object. Why? Because there is no standardized, fixed, exclusive, separate objects that we believe in. we believe in life. We believe in reality, which is organic. And if so, then life and reality includes our own uniqueness. It's not separation of an inside world and an outside world, but it is a continuity of a field, of a flux that we are an important organic part of. So an idolater feeling secure and confident, it is contingent on an idea, a tradition, an imagined unit, a category, a standard thinking unit, a category, okay? And it has this explosive inner power inducing awe, overwhelming and converting. Okay? So in other words, since you are basically the same as I am, a small little world, therefore what is true for me is also true for you without uniqueness. So you see, there is this chain reaction of one person converting another person, creating a mass movement. But a religious person and community feels secure and confident because it is a reflection of inner organization, maintained inner energy, which radiates out as inspiration and enthusiasm. So there is no conversion. There is no explosive energy creating uniformity, a mass movement. No, it's just general goodness. Inside here, there is an ego. And outside there is a material universe. This material universe is an object of idolatry the same way as a divine unit or a divine system or a divine organization and institution is. This material universe is an object of idolatry. Why? Because a few observations are extended, extrapolated, and projected out, ignores everything else but what can be measured by physical, scientific means. Okay? So you have something that is a projection of your tool, right? Inside mind and outside physical reality, a separation which is usable for a novice, for somebody who is really a beginner at the spiritual process and in mental development. Okay? So you have to start somewhere, and this is a good place to start. But once you understand that life force, creates an energy field without artificial separations and boundaries, and there's really no distinction between inside and outside. There's no distinction between mind and matter. There's no distinction between soul and divinity. Then you understand that the whole thing is continuous. The whole thing is organic. And the material universe, okay, is one projection out of that. One projection, one viewpoint that is very much tool-driven, hierarchy-driven. It is driven by what you are interested in, by what you can measure. Okay? But life is not contained in any kind of physical unit or any kind of unit or any kind of concept or any kind of category. Life force is a given, but it's not fixed. Unique, but not divided into units. Space, time, category, sets, numbers. These are descriptors of the clothing. Okay, a clothing of a person, the surface, hence superficial attention. Okay, not the essence. These are factors in the description of the projected artificial reality, not the essence of reality. These are tools that you use, which then you will need to transcend at a certain stage of development. So a material universe, okay, may contain the heart, soul, spirit, intellect, and the mind inside the brain. So all of this is inside the brain, okay, connected with certain kind of chemical and physical processes, mechanical processes, okay? But you understand that this is one projection of this, okay? So of course these things have physical changes connected to them, but there is not a hierarchy of this is important and this is secondary. You see, this is an adolescent needs something like this, that this is the primary mover and this is the secondary effect. No, these things are interconnected. These emotions also change your chemical compositions and your state of neurons, connection of neurons, okay? It's not like this creates this. It's that this and this are manifestations of something deeper, okay? And if you focus on this, then you will see that as a primary thing, because that's what you choose to focus on because of your biases, your interests, your sensitivity, and your tools, okay? So you may choose to believe in individual units, and then you may choose to believe in individual brains, okay, connected with individual units. But that's up to you. There's nothing objective about that. In the material universe, you have space, distance, orientations that are major descriptors of a material universe. In reality, the mind is co-substantial with reality. So an individual personality is only one potential manifestation, like a drop of water that is not separate, only looks separate under certain conditions. But the drop of water is really connected to the whole body of water, not to mention vapors and clouds and soil water and everything else, okay? So, under certain conditions, physical attributes may be important for this drop of water. But under different conditions, this drop of water is really non-separate from the whole of water idea, okay, that may manifest itself in very many different ways. So in your material universe, you are interested in the clothing, in this, the surface that is easily seen, readily described, accepted as objective, existing. But reality is not skin deep. It goes deep. There is an essence within, not spatially within, okay, in figurative sense. There is an essence with creativity, imagination, and love. And objectivity, generality, space-time attributes are non-applicable because there is uniqueness here, a unique interaction below the clothing, okay? So when you understand that the clothing is easy to see and it can be standardized, right? You can make 10,000 clothes, right, of the same mechanical attributes, okay? So, or physical attributes, same color, same form, same texture, okay? And you can do very popular things with this, and you can introduce fashions, But the essence, which is harder to understand, is unique and changing. You cannot standardize. You will try to, because superficial attention and mental inertia always tries to fix and standardize everything for ease of communication. And you need ease of communication and coordination which comes with that, because you are mentally inert. So you don't want to think deeply. That's the whole idea, right? But this is not subject to generalization or classification, because it is unique. This interaction, this interliving, this below the clothes reality, okay, and again, in a figurative sense. So fake generalized reference frames, generally accepted as absolute, this is popular because it requires little mental effort. So you can take somebody else's interpretation, somebody else's concepts, somebody else's categories, and you adopt it and use it. And so that somebody else, be it a media person, be it a philosopher, be it a scientist, be it an expert, okay, will then have authority, okay, so that you can say, okay, well, he said it or she said it, okay, so I am going to adopt it and I don't have to think about it. And when you do that, you are going to create an inorganic, standard, fixed universe. Success, popularity, wealth, and fame, these are quantifiable. Okay? Why are they quantifiable? Why are they subject to numbers? They are subject to numbers because they are artificial, because they are exclusive, that there is no variation, there is no flow of energy, there is no uniqueness here. These are all the clothing. Statistical average, competition hierarchy, and science are all contingent on fixed things, a standard reference frame. You see, mathematics is also subject to this. There is a standard reference frame. Okay? Standard reference frames are always artificial. Okay? And standard reference frames cannot be projected out without understanding that you will clash with any other community that uses a different standard. Okay, and then you're going to have wars and competition and all kinds of bad things. Science. What does science, what is science really about? What does it investigate? What is the subject of science? It is the clothing. Okay? How to order and classify different types of clothing. Okay? How do I describe things as they are on average, under usual conditions, everything remaining equal? You are talking about the clothes, but not the essence, okay, that is below, the deeper, okay? I process and I interpret what I see. But if you go beyond science, then you understand that I also need to consider that I might not be able to see. And that doesn't exist, because existence is based on consensus and coordination. But it is something that I will have to look at deeper and deeper. And there's no limit to how deep you can go. And the usual thing, okay? If you have superficial attention, if you have a separate and exclusive ego, then you are, there's no mercy here, you are going to be subject to parasitism, okay? Because parasites are always interested in the surface. They are interested in the clothing, okay? They are interested in the flesh, okay? They are interested in the flesh of the fruit. never the essential part. So most of the time, these parasites, okay, these parasites, okay, they want just one part of the organism. And that is our greatest asset. Because the parasite will never really touch the inner soul, okay? I mean, yes, the parasite will try to reprogram you, but reprogram you on a superficial level, in a uniform and superficial manner. But you have the infinite potential, okay, to work around that. Parasites generalize, they make uniformity, and they use a fixed part of a uniform reality. Parasites do not care about uniqueness, and that's how you recognize parasitism. There's no uniqueness. Parasites see things as uniform, okay? They see assets. They see things to use. And whoever is interested in assets and things to use, they tend to be parasites. Wisdom, however, prevents you from being exploited. Wisdom prevents you from being used. Because wisdom understands that if you transcend the average, if you maintain your uniqueness, if you go beyond what is generalizable and coordinated, the clothing, the surface, if you appreciate uniqueness and organic unity, in other words, if you're good, then parasites will not like you. They go somewhere else. The whole idea is that the function of the parasite is to go to the undeveloped. Okay? A mentally developed, wise person is not a good breeding ground for parasitism. And ultimately, wisdom transcends inside and outside. Because wisdom does not need fixations and standardization. Wisdom has some need for coordination. Okay? Wisdom has some need for ease of communication that comes from coordination. But wisdom provides you with the desire to be unique, but to organically cooperate. Because wisdom understands that there is no separateness and exclusiveness, except on a very low level of mental development. And wisdom always wants cooperation, because that is natural. And what is natural is good. Artificial worlds have uniformity. Okay? They have separation. They have exclusiveness. But wisdom doesn't operate with these things. Wisdom operates with organic unity and interliving. Okay? And never with exclusivity and separateness. So sorry, no parasites here. And with that, I thank you for your attention, and goodbye for now.